think that the people who are on the front edge of this assault on our collective well-being, it's them who've done the most to make this country better.
Welcome back to America Who Hurt You. I'm Sarah Jones, and this is the show where we dig into why this moment is so hard and how to get through it. Today, my guest is the brilliant Baratunde Thurston. He is the Emmy-nominated host of TV shows and podcasts, including Life with Machines, which is about the human side of AI, America Outdoors on PBS, and the How to Citizen podcast. Plus, his how-tos go even further in his New York Times bestselling memoir, How to Be Black. Note, if you're not Black, maybe don't lean too hard into that one. But Baratunde and I discuss some of the things we can actually do about what's happening right now. And if you're listening, but you're more of a video person, catch us on YouTube, where you can not only hear Baratunde's soothing voice, but also see his face remain calm as we discuss what might happen after the fall of the empire. I know that sounds kind of dark, but we actually had a lot of fun too. So definitely check us out over there, like and subscribe. And if you love this episode, please support our show by sharing it, following us on Instagram and other socials at America Who Hurt You. And you can subscribe to our Substack. Yes, I am Sarah Jones. All of that really supports the work we're doing here, and it'll help us keep going in the future. And now my episode with the amazing Baratunde Thurston.
Hello, friend.
Hello, my interdependent friend.
Yo, what's good? I have not seen you in forever.
Forever. I mean, I see you in the ethers. You being that brother who has done everything from, entertain us as a comedian. You're Emmy nominated, but you're also the outdoors guy, your show on PBS. Like, I was like, this is the Swiss Army knife of thought leaders to talk about this moment and our survival. But I often go to you for my education because you speak a language that those of us who are lay people and are like, what's a LLM? Like, it's a large language model, and Baratunde will break it down for you. But you also can take us to literally how we survive the indoors, the outdoors. So Baratunde, how are we getting through this? How are you getting through day to day right now?
Oh, Sarah, it's so good to be here with you. It's good to be in any space that you've created. You mad funny and creative and unbalanced in the best way possible.
Listen, so off kilter, so off kilter.
Because what's on kilter right now is going to kill us.
Heavy on the kill part.
Yeah,
of kilter.
If you are not abnormal, then you're not doing it right in this environment.
Did you hear that? I just want to say, I hope y'all heard Baratunde very clearly say, make it weird. Love your weird.
Yes. I take walks.
Okay.
I go on hikes and put myself in a earthly realm.
Hug something green.
Hug some. I mean, where I live, I'm in the desert, Coachella Valley, Palm Springs.
Hug something brown.
Most of the green things here got spikes.
Okay.
So you want to be careful about that.
Yeah. Don't hug something spiked.
Yeah. Be aware of your surroundings. Make sure what you hug is not a cacti. A cactus. So I do try to do some like meaningful personal movement to stay balanced. I try to have a historical frame of reference about some of this stuff. Everything comes to an end. Everything.
Wow. Let's sit with that for a sec, because I'm like, meaningful historical. I'm like, what does that look like? Do you read about what you got the Shazam for plants, and you're like, this cactus.
I got the Shazam for empire.
Not
it's
the
like,
empire Shazam.
Looks like Rome. Smells like Rome.
Baby.
Might be Rome.
Y'all, I both apologize and I also you're welcome. Right? We're holding both. Like it looks and smells like Rome, and yet you find that balance. You move within the cave. Yeah.
I'm surrounded by beautiful people. I got a good loving relationship with my wife. I got good friends. And I think, beyond people I personally know, the work that I do with the storytelling, it's all trying to weave a bigger story of us together. How do we see ourselves in each other? That's very Valerie Kaur inspired. I know she's a sis.
We love her.
And whether it's the machine stuff or the earth stuff or the people democracy stuff, most of my energy is focused on who's thinking about it the right way, who's doing something about it, and amplifying their voices, reminding us to tap into that put me in coach energy as opposed to that Monday morning quarterback energy. And so there's when someone gives you something to do, that's helpful. It gives you a different way of seeing things that might just depress you or keep you in an alarmed and agitated state. That's better than just diagnosing horrors in the world. So for myself, I try to remember those stories, remember those people humbly, and be like, okay, yeah, it feels like a special time. Feels like everything's on fire and is dying. And it kind of is.
Right.
And to the point I started with, everything comes to an end. Endings are beginnings.
Okay, let's go with, because I was like,
beginnings.
Everything comes to an end. Bye, Baratunde. I'm gonna see you later. I'm gonna go. What's my bucket list? Bye, y'all. It's not that. You're saying these endings. This is like a portal onto the new.
We're stepping out of something that's not serving us so well anymore, and we're stepping into something that can. Whether it will or not, that's up to us. That's up to that put me in coach energy. I'm not here to guarantee a great, bright future for everybody. But I'm here to remind everybody and myself that we can make that happen. And what we do not need to do is to become passengers in the vehicle of our lives and let the people currently who seem like they're driving, and they're not taking us to a good place.
No.
But many of them don't really know what the hell they're doing.
Right.
And certainly what they're doing, whether conscious or unconscious, doesn't serve most of us.
Right.
And so we've got to, reassert our ability to navigate and determine our destination, and then get there together. It's more fun. Get a good playlist going. Let's have a road trip, to a good
snacks.
future.
Like snacks that we can eat that won't kill us.
Snacks. And here's the fun part about snacks. This is I promise it's very connected. I think there is a small number of people who are defining a future for us, a technological future in this moment.
Right. AI folks.
Who don't enjoy snacks.
They don't enjoy snacks.
And what I mean by that is like they're trying to optimize our lives to kill all the flavor.
Right.
Right. And I'm like, bro, you missed the whole point of the meal.
Right.
Flavor is good. Texture is good. Other people eating with is good.
Right.
And so, if you're not about that snack life, if you don't appreciate, a good muffin, a good donut, then I'm not trying to be on this road trip with you.
Right. It's complex, but it's not. It's like be with the people you love in an environment that's healthy for you. Yeah. Be together, right? Like have your space, but also share that space.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to dominate and conquer everything. Like
it's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And I'm going to say this. These people bought being in charge. That's what I see. These are not natural ideas. It's not a natural idea. Hey, let's drag people away from their families screaming on the street and call that democracy, right? This very sobering idea that stuff ends. And if it smells like Rome and it walks like Rome and it might be Rome, that is the good news because we can build something better. What do you say to people who are like, well, Baratunde, you have a fancy life. I'm not living that life. So you can go for walks and blah, blah, blah. I work 3 jobs. How am I supposed to see this, possible hope at the end of the end that you see? What would you say to that person?
2 things. First, a reference you made to separating people from their families, dragging them through the streets and calling it democracy. My mind literally flashed to slave catching. And then I was like, I think she's probably talking about ICE / the American Gestapo. But it's the same thing.
Wow.
So when we can't tell, what is she talking about today's news or the news from like 250 years ago?
Wow. Yeah.
Same. That's an indictment of the allegation of progress. Right. To the person that you brought into the space, the hypothetical person who's very real. Thank you. Yeah, it's an excellent point, and I'm comfortable. My basic needs are covered, and so I'm protected from a lot of the worst of the current pain. So acknowledgement. Thank you, and we are not in the same place, and I think that the people who are on the front edge of this assault on our collective well-being, I think it's helpful for folks to remember that it's them who've done the most to make this country better. It's relatively unresourced financially people, uncredentialed, in terms of formal education, unawarded people who have advanced the best things that we take for granted. And it is very hard balancing that. I don't have the answer to everything. And I'm not trying to tell everybody what to do that I'm not trying to do myself. I'm trying to collectively remind us of who we can be and who I think we really are. And this natural state, I don't think we are in a natural state of hoarding and dominance. I think that's mad exhausting. I don't think that's like evolutionarily sound as a life plan or a business plan even. But we set up some really weird rules and incentives and reward structures which have sucked a number of people into doing things against all of our interests, including their own.
Right.
It's not a great business if you kill all your customers, right? And
Can
flood
we
all
get
their
that
houses.
memo?
Like,
Can we get that memo to somebody? Listen, this is the thing though.
yeah.
To come from, and I wanted to actually put it to you this way, both you and I, right? Just by virtue of being the descendants of enslaved African people back there, we both come from the people you're talking about who literally did the work and received no compensation or honor for that, right?
Yeah.
You and I are fortunate to stand on the shoulders of people who maybe didn't have degrees or whatever that is, or maybe they have degrees, but the people before them weren't allowed to read or whatever. And yet some folk take that trauma and make Palantir.
I think about our expectations of how we reform a system like policing. And there's a simple expectation I know that I held for a long time. We just need more Black people in policing. And then policing will get better.
Right.
Because Black people who've lived a certain life and experience will be there with that power, and they won't repeat these abuses. And they certainly won't, shoot their own in the back with their hands up. Like that could never happen because they might have even been shot at by a cop. So they wouldn't want to repeat that cycle.
Right.
And that is obviously not true.
Right.
So just changing the color or the demographic and putting someone in a system built to optimize a certain outcome will not change the system. If you change a participant in the system, you're just changing what the system looks like, but not what it produces, not on its own. And you've got to go deeper than that. So I don't know Alex Karp. I do know I do not like Palantir. It sounds like he's had a vast life of experiences that wouldn't naturally lead one to think he's going to sit on top of like the largest surveillance operation, privately operated government contractor that we've known. And he came up in the system that encouraged things, that rewarded X and punished Y. And it just like, he was on his own optimization journey, most likely, or someone like him, if not him, right? Let's just say he's a stand-in for a lot of us.
Right.
Okay, so I love Earth. I love the climate. Why did I take a plastic bag yesterday? Now I'm not, it's not the same as what Alex Karp is doing, but we are all in a system. And by and large, most of us individually didn't create the system. We were like born into it, and our parents are probably born into it. This is a multi-generational inheritance, not of our choosing.
Right.
And we're trying to survive.
Right.
And we're trying to succeed, or somewhere in between, depending on the day and what zip code you were born in. You're either in survival mode or success mode, but you're optimizing something.
Right.
And so yeah, we've got to go a little deeper than just why that person do that.
Why you do that is
why
not
you
deep.
do that. Why you do that?
So what's that deeper place? Because one of the things I love about you as a person, you do deep healing spiritual work. You do grief work. You and I have both talked about personal, you've been, public about personal obstacles, challenges that you've had. Will you share about that for anyone who sees the shiny Baratunde and doesn't know there's a history? Yeah.
There's a, one person comes to mind right now is Dr. Sam Rader. And she's a former psychotherapist. She has a healing modality that is essentially, it's called source code. That'll help people find it if they're curious. But it helps you get access to your own source code. What's motivating you? What's moving you? What's operating you? And how might you adjust that? And a deep premise is that a lot of us develop coping mechanisms in our childhood, and we drag them into our adulthood, and they don't serve us very well. But we're still playing that out. And how do we change that? How do we get more into the roots of that? So she's got techniques. There are various approaches that come at this. It's not like a totally new invention, but I liked her style and it resonates. And so for me, there was a connection to my mother that who's a hero in my life. She's no longer living in this realm. She helped me survive and succeed, right, through a lot of obstacles. And she lived a much harder life than I did in terms of she got no award nomination. She got no degree, right? And she was like wise beyond anything and hilarious and super intelligent. She was AGI already. We done Arnita Thurston.
Tell everybody who's listening what AGI is.
Artificial general intelligence, the thing that the Magnificent Seven big tech companies are chasing to accomplish all economically viable human tasks. That's their mission, right? And to substitute real people with fake people, and also help you with your emails, of course. Like very important that you get those. So with this healing question of yours,
and your
I had a majority of my life celebrating, honoring, remembering my mother, calling that love, appreciating her, not really questioning anything, not really pushing back, even when she was here. Very deferential, out of respect for the sacrifice she made for me to have anything at all. And yet I was exhibiting behaviors myself that weren't serving me, weren't great. And when I tried to route that back to where it might have come from, some of those roads led to Mama Arnita Thurston. And that was a real painful realization on my part. Because I'm just like, now I'm dishonoring. How can I blame you? And you're not even around. Like it's very, that sucks. And I worked through it. And I had some help working through it. I talked to my sister more. I talked to some of my mom's friends who are still alive. And I got a more complete picture of who she was as a human, not as the saint I made her out to be. And so the reduction of perfection in my image of her gave me a more accurate perception of who she actually was. And that actually made her more accessible. It made me love her more. And because I knew her more. And so this loving is knowing became a little personal principle, but it works in collective spaces as well. And so for many of us who look at our country and are like, I love America. Don't you dare say nothing negative about my mama, America. Right. That's a family matter. And feel a sense of betrayal. They call it patriotism, right? And so you want to burn a book that says something unflattering about your mama, the country. And that is not love. Wow. That's more self-serving. We preserve a story that makes us feel good with no curiosity or respect for the actual person or thing we say we love. And America's just people. It's a story we tell ourselves about a place that doesn't exist in the technical world. Like the trees don't know they're in the United States of America. Like they're just on Earth, right? They're home. They're just home.
Right.
And so the rest of us have invented this whole story. So if we could approach the stories of us, including our past and the unflattering ones, and accept those and be curious about those in ways that might lead to pain. It is and I personally know it. It was not easy to just be like, oh, my mom is not quite this thing. She's this other thing.
Right.
And if somebody else had said that, I might have looked at them a certain type of way.
Yep.
But here I am, having worked through some of it. And it is better. I guarantee it is better. It is better to know. And that knowledge is a prerequisite in this case to actually love.
Okay, Bars, can we just sit with that for a moment? Knowledge is a prerequisite to actually love someone or something. We'll be back in a moment with more emotional truth explosions from Baratunde Thurston. Don't go anywhere. And we're back. The way that the story of love that you have for your mom, which I've heard you share so many times, and you always honor her. And I've known you long enough that I've probably been here a lot, parallel with my own version of that, right? Like reckoning with, my divorce or my whatever it is that I'm like, oh, I thought I was this person. I thought that out there was the problem, but really the calls are coming from inside the house.
Oh, so many calls.
So many calls. Yeah. I mean, now there's Zoom. It's really a lot.
Or texts,
There's texts coming from inside the house. Yeah. I mean, God knows ChatGPT is up inside the house. The AIG is. And like, as you're saying, real love for our communities, for ourselves, for this country, a prerequisite for that is the truth, is our actual timeline of history and not something that's been scrubbed off the Smithsonian website, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about you and like I said, you have this multifaceted, it is earth and tech and, human relationships and democracy. You've written this amazing essay, which people have to go find. I want to say it was on Atmos. Is that where?
Yeah, the website is atmos.earth. They got a .earth domain.
As you should. I want Sarah.earth now. I think we should all have Baratunde.earth. What else would you want? So, but this essay weaves together some of what you're talking about. It really looks at interdependence. And in this year that we're looking at the, 250th anniversary of the Declaration of something, but they called it independence.
Yeah.
And you have this declaration of interdependence. Say more about that, how you came to that writing.
So first, I didn't come up with the idea.
No, I know. Sorry. I know you did. Gloria Steinem was like, "We interdependence." I was like, "Oh yeah." Like years ago. I know you didn't come up with that thing, but
for me in this moment, it emerged through the How to Citizen work. It emerged through this question of how do we live well together and what is democracy if taken as something we do and not something we have.
And can we just say your work with How to Citizen is really making citizen a verb. Like, can you say more about that?
Yeah, citizen a verb. It's the simplest premise, how to citizen, because citizen is a very loaded term. And in its noun form, it is quite literally used to divide. It is a divisive term. You are or you aren't. It's this binary thing. It's something we take from you. We take nouns from people. It's harder to take verbs from people. No one can take my being from me, being the verb. They can take my body from me, my body, the noun, but my being, that's an active thing that whether I'm in a cell or floating down a river or jogging on a path or locked up underground somewhere, I can still verb that. I can still verb myself into being. So citizen is liberating as a verb, even as it might be confining as a noun. And that was the spirit of that project. We did multiple seasons of the podcast. The spirit of it lives on, though the podcast is much more in like hibernation mode at this stage. As we were thinking about the future of that project and what it should be, we looked at the calendar. And this is a couple of years ago. And we're like, America's turning 250 years old, Declaration of Independence. What if we didn't do that? Right? What if we declared something else? Do we have like a shortage of independence-mindedness in the country?
I don't think we're lacking I got mine and fuck you approach.
Do we have an excess of collaboration that's just flooding your hood, your workspace, your community space? Is there too much sharing gone wild, right? Is that infecting us? Is too much community thinking? I don't think so. So no, it was, there's an opportunity with the timeline and the birthday party, which is guaranteed to be very awkward. And this was before round 2 with Mr. Trump here, when we were conceiving of all this. So we were silly, hopeful people. And we're like, well, at least, the birthday party will be overseen by like a pretty decent person.
A grown-up.
An adult, yes, a human adult. No, that is not what history has in store for us. We got to live with the highest levels of contradiction to reveal the deepest levels of our truth. And so we will have greased up MMA fighters on one side, and we'll have the rest of us on the other looking at what are we trying to celebrate here. And so, yes, that was the beginnings of it. And we found ourselves invited into a community and a story of the presence of democracy in this country before this was a country, by the people who've been here since time immemorial. And so indigenous democracy has been and continues to exist. And particularly in the form of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and the now 6 nations that operate in like the upper New York Canadian border lakes zone.
And my understanding is their Confederacy,
Yeah.
right? A lot of times you hear the word Confederacy and you're like, oh, terrible flags.
Oh yeah,
terrible
no,
people.
not that
Not
kind.
that
Thank you.
Confederacy.
Yeah, yeah.
We're talking about these nations that had sovereignty, like they
Mhm.
were unto themselves, and interdependence,
That's
as you
right.
point out in the essay. So
That's
they
right.
were like, yes, I'm me with my boundaries and my culture and my whatever. And also, I'm not here to conquer and destroy you. I'm here to actually collaborate with
That's
you. Right.
That's
okay.
right.
So,
Yeah,
so
that was a
and the-
great breakdown. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It was a great essay, so it was easy to. I was like, "Ooh, it's marinating." But now, my understanding is the Declaration of Independence, as we understand it, borrows. I'm using borrows. If you could see the video of this, there's a lot of air quotes.
A lot of air quotes.
It borrows from this indigenous wisdom. Can you say more about?
Yeah, and I want to be cautious and as clear as possible.
Okay.
So there is scholarly contention about did, the indigenous forms of democracy that predate colonization actively influence the formation of what we call the United States of America, vis-a-vis, which is a term academics would use, so that's why I threw it in there, the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. That's an open question. I have thoughts.
Give us your thoughts. I trust
thoughts
you
are,
more than
my thoughts are there was highly likely some influence. What the facts support, this is the most important part, there were hundreds of years of relationship between those who came and those who were here.
Mm-hmm.
Trade relations, sexual relations, culinary relations, diplomatic relations, as neighbors have with one another, and a mutual exchange of ideas, truly mutual exchange. It's not just a one-way thing here in any direction.
Right.
Over hundreds of years,
right,
leading up to what we are now calling 1776.
Right.
And in that process, negotiations, treaties, ceremony, ritual, observations, and note-taking. Benjamin Franklin wrote about the Haudenosaunee very lovingly, very respectfully, I would say, even without stretching to lovingly, but respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
And he was impressed with some of their modes of governance.
He low-key took notes, y'all. He
did, and he published, because that was his thing. He was a publisher, known around the world for that. And the most famous American at that time, honestly, was this guy. So there is a lot of alignment and overlap with multiple systems of democracy. So that's one. And I think the odds are very high that there was some influence just from that. That doesn't matter as much as precedent. Democracy was here before any European got here. That's it.
That's it.
And what that means for us is that many of the people who have looked back at U.S. history only expecting darkness can see some light and can see ourselves. Right? You can see first people holding to first principles in ways that still serve us today. And whether the invitation was accepted or not, they offered these principles. And
they welcomed.
And then a lot of that is still on offer. So what is not on offer is to become an indigenous American, right?
Yes, please don't. What's my favorite? Somebody was like, yes, when Linda Goldstein changes her name to Linda Goldfeather, we need to start.
So that's not the assignment.
That's not the assignment.
No, but there are beautiful principles that we can all reflect on and apply today, given the opportunity in a refounding moment, given the opportunity when the wheels are falling off the bus. What kind of vehicle we're going to put together to get where we want to go now, and not just try to get back to something, but move toward something. And I think, and many people think, that some of these indigenous democratic principles, which are not unique to the Haudenosaunee, they are common to people of indigenous origins all the world over. And that's actually all of us. Like, we're all descended from some kind of indigeneity. We have different degrees of separation from that relationship to land and earth. And that's part of the way forward, is to reconnect that part of our being.
So I'm just thinking about the macro of this, all of these different things in the ways that you connect them up. You did a really powerful interview segment on Life with Machines. I think it was the last one, about how we think it's AI and we think we're talking to a machine, but there's like hundreds of millions of people that you think are your AI. So that's a whole, I hadn't heard anybody talking about that but you. And then how, our well-being, right? You said beingness, and that being as a verb, it just hit different because we're in this time when here in the United States and really around the world, our access to our own being for some of us is under like daily threat, right? The whole citizen concept, and that they can take from you this noun that then does, make it harder for you to just be. And at the same time, there's in some ways more hope than ever because the wheels have come off. So we get to, what do we put wings on this thing? Like, what can we do? These people in power right now, it feels like they're going to be keeping on with these violent shenanigans for a minute. How do we both citizen and be and, come together while under attack?
There's one more acknowledgement on the interdependence front and just in clarity. So if that is sounding interesting and attractive to someone listening or watching, Atmos.Earth has the article, Project Interdependence, that US has more of the thinking and the collection of folks who are working on this piece of it. There are multiple interdependence efforts. Our mutual, Valerie, Core, and crew are working on Next 250 and a different kind of a declaration of interdependence. I've learned about something called Unify, Unify USA, and they're quoting Kennedy, who in 1962 called for us to declare interdependence. A president did that, and Reagan also did it.
Wow.
I know. I saw your reaction on that one because that was what I had. I think there's something essentially true. We know it in the aftermath of a storm or a tragedy. Folks come together, and the twistedly good news is we are in the aftermath of so many storms right now. We're still in so many storms right now.
We're in the aftermath, the pre-math, the math is mathing. It's not mathing.
So much math.
It's a lot of math.
How do we do this both thing? I think it's the only way to get to the future is also to like be in the present.
It's uncomfortable here though, Baratunde.
I know. It's a little hot or it's too cold or it's itchy or there's mosquitoes or there's, Gestapo raiding your school. Like there's a lot.
80-year-old mosquito.
There's a lot.
Makeup on. No shade to makeup, but.
And so, we don't all have to do everything all the time. There's millions of us in this country. There's billions of us on this planet. Beyond the human, there's like so much life that is rooting for life that we can call upon. We have ancestors that we can call upon. We are so far from alone. So let us relieve ourselves of the burden of individually fixing the whole world and fighting on multiple fronts. Maybe we, divide and belong rather than divide and conquer, right? And divide and collaborate.
People, bars. That was a Baratunde bar, a bear bar, if you will.
Barra bar.
Bear bar.
And I'm trying to sit with what you're asking and prompting some real interesting stuff. The convergence of all the bullshit that we're going through right now is going to force a type of choice. The climate collapse, the democracy collapse, the way we know the economy to be collapse, the technological collapse, like all these old rules are thrown out the window. We're also learning how much they were just made up to begin with. So do we go down with that ship, all of us? And just like, I guess the way I understood the world to work doesn't work anymore. Bye-bye, life.
Right.
That's an option. It's an option to just like sink with this bullshit ship. Or are we like, okay, but how do we create something better, maybe?
Yes. What can we actually do better? Like, what would a better world even look like? Hold that in your mind for a second while we take this break. I'll be right back with more Baratunde Thurston. We're back with Baratunde and a climate-focused example of how we might build a better future.
When I think about the climate of it all, I remember this moment in America Outdoors. I was with this family, white people family. And that's important because the way they moved had a lot of like indigenous consistency to it. You know, they were caretakers for trees, and they were literally trying to help usher in a new type of forest that would survive the different ecology that's coming with the shift of temperature bands from south to north, and all of the insects that move differently, and diseases that move differently, and rain patterns that move differently. They had sadly acknowledged that the old forest was going to die. It's like really, really sad to just be like, these trees we've known, that our ancestors have known, that have helped write the story of who we are with us, are not going to survive. They're just not. It's too late. Even if we stopped emitting everything, even if every cow stopped farting right now, is done. It's baked in. And we can still have a forest. And they've taken on this stewardship role to help nature get to a new footing, in a new reality, in a new world. And that's the answer's in there.
Yes.
Right? It's like we don't pretend that we're just going to preserve the old forest. And we don't just give up and say, well, we're not going to have a forest, right? We help create a new forest. And that I haven't thought about them in this way in a very long time. So I really appreciate it, because I know many stories like that are directly led by indigenous people and using indigenous traditional ecological knowledge. And that is beautiful and should be supported and funded and not limited to just indigenous people. These are white people doing this. And they're not trying to become Anishinaabe or Ojibwe, right? But they're moving in a better, more gentle way on the surface of and with this planet. And I think that's how we do both. But we do need to acknowledge, and I think what was hit me in that moment, I remember I had this straight to camera moment. I was like almost crying because I hadn't wrestled with all that we have lost and will lose. We will lose more. We are going to lose more people in unnecessary mass shootings. We're going to. We're going to lose more people in genocidal military activities in so many parts of it. We're going to. And we are going to build something. We can build something that makes that less likely and makes, surviving turn to thriving, and more of that success and joyful living. That's really, I think, why we're here.
I mean, first of all, that is such a gorgeous example of interdependence, right? That family, they're respectfully, like you said, nobody's out here in Halloween costumes and all this stuff. They're actually taking what can benefit the collective.
Yeah.
And the wild part is, like, nature is so generous. And so, like the universe, not to sound too woo-woo. I know I moved to LA and now I just sound like, oh my God, turmeric is in everything. But there's such grace that you can make a new forest. We ruin everything and nature will still say, come on back and I'll help you, right? Yeah. And so in a way, it's like, okay, in this 250th anniversary where it feels like it's too late and we're past everything and we're post civil rights, women's bodies is just like, do whatever you want. Like, it feels so crazy to me. And at the same time, the closer we get to the quote unquote too late, it's like, grieve the forest. It's not coming back. Grieve while figuring out the new. And that is hopeful on a level that interdependence is something I don't think enough people are talking about, that like a loss that's like so great. In my own life, I've lost loved ones. And if somebody had said to me at that time of losing like someone who I loved, well, this is part of, late stage capitalism. And I'm obsessed with capitalism these days. That's my little fifth grader. Yeah. She needs to talk about capitalism. But I would have been like, this hurts and fuck you. Like when you said that about the family and the forest, I was like, but I got stuck in the forest. I got stuck in the old forest that we're never going to have again. How do we hold space for that in this time of this anniversary?
Yeah. I was thinking of another America Outdoors story. Took me to Elaine, Arkansas, which is in the Delta. It's the site of a very, very vicious race massacre by white people of Black people, to be very clear, in 1919, the Red Summer, where there was a lot of this going on across the whole country.
And to be clear, for folks who aren't aware of the history, part of what happened is after the end of slavery, or, you know, the Emancipation Proclamation, Black people, I mean, do you want to speak to this, Baratunde?
Keep going. No, this is good.
Well, I'm going to do my best, but the, you know, kind of freedom promised opportunity, right? Folks were supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. I didn't get mine. Did you get yours, Baratunde?
I'm still looking, but I think it's in the couch. I got to check.
It might be in the couch cushions, but we were supposed to, Black people, you know, people who had been enslaved Africans were now supposed to get compensation and be able to build their lives. And instead, you know, when they got into politics and Reconstruction, and you can read up on this, it was like, we know we said we wanted to set y'all free, but actually we gonna come burn y'all down, lynch y'all, and take all y'all shit if you don't mind. You've only had 20 years to try to catch up on, you know, hundreds of years of bondage and violence, but we don't like it. You're looking too uppity and you're looking too happy and educated, and we're gonna take everything you're building. So is that something
that's it? That's the thrust of it. That's the rub. And so there were a lot of, you know, the Tulsa massacre is the most famous one. It's been depicted in film. It's in the Watchmen series that was rebooted on HBO some years ago. But I got to visit the site of that and meet with descendants, survivors of that. And they were still hurt from it. There was a lot of fear of talking about it amongst their grandparents because it was so violently suppressed. So to talk about it would risk inviting that violence back, and people very traumatized around that kind of thing. So the woman who I met, who the principal person behind this current moment, has become mayor. First Black woman, first black person to be mayor of this town of Elaine. And they were part of an effort to reconnect with the town and its opportunity through bicycling, right? Through using the Rails to Trails bike path that was coming into town to bring economic opportunity to folks for whom it had been systemically denied. And we were this multiracial group of people on our bicycles.
Wow.
Riding on what used to be railroad tracks, the same track that had actually brought a lot of the guns and the military force that participated in the massacre. So this path that brought destruction in was now bringing this beautiful BIPOC joy. The group is called Bike POC that we've met up with in the town with the mayor and the pastor and everybody. So it's just this beautifully interdependent, loving thing. And we were crying, you know, with the memory of what's lost and with the present of what that means for the people who live there now and how far off their path of thriving they were placed, you know, generationally. And we were in the joy of being in each other's presence and laughing. I mean, the spiritual freedom of just whooping down these former railroad tracks that brought death to bring life instead. Glorious feeling and an embodied thing. And that's where the idea is, you know, they need a body, right, to make them real. And I heard someone say that about spirituality, you know, in some of my journey. And I think that's real true. It resonates. So the doing both, we don't have to do both all the time, but what are the keys that are coming out of even these two little examples? Like other people, movement, connection to nature, mourning, right? Space for grief and mourning. So, because if we just try to stoically power forward into our bright future without acknowledging some of these scars of the past, they will emerge, you know, as I found with the little scar of the story of my mother. And it shows up almost 2 decades after she's no longer breathing in this plane. So we gonna deal with it one way or the other.
Right.
It will come out one way or the other. Let's be at choice about it. Let's be more honoring of it. You know, there is a lesson in the indigenous democracy space and all democracy space. This is a beautiful consistency. Perfection is not expected to be something we achieve, but we pursue it, right? We aim. And so even in the version of America we're living in, a more perfect union.
Okay.
Just more perfect.
Just more.
My wife would be like, just less bad. Can we just get less bad on the docket? Just turn bad down from 11 to 10.5, but more perfect. And can we aspire? Can we raise the bar on what we expect from each other?
See, I love that, because when you first said perfect, I think about this moment we're in, this government, and how in some ways it feels to me like the pursuit of a certain kind of perfection. I'm using air quotes again. There's something in that American myth of being the most this and the perfect that. And we're not. No. We've never been that. And so I love the balance of, there's a spiritual practice that I do, and that one of the things they talk about is progress, not perfection, or that, not progress makes perfect, but progress makes progress. Like that, right? That's it. And like, the more we can get away from American myths around, I don't know, the supposed, what is a true Norman Rockwell American? That's how we got here, finding anybody who can speak Spanish and deciding that they should be taken off the street, right? So I think this idea of we aim for the perfect interdependence that you're talking about, not some illusion of perfect, rugged individualism that has never existed. No. And you say this in the essay, we the people, that has to have a meaning that is human and humane. Yeah. As opposed to an AI generated, like, I don't even know what their version of we the people is, but it ain't no people in it anymore because we got rid of the people.
The relationship between everything we've been talking about and the AI moment, it's really intense in that everything we care about will be affected greatly by the path we're on toward a certain technological future.
Right.
I don't think it has to be terrible. I don't, the intentions of a lot of the people behind it aren't evil, but it's just not.
Where are they? Because I see the evil ones a lot. Where are the ones who aren't like, no.
Well, yeah, that's good. So there's someone we had on Life with Machines, Michael Running Wolf, using AI to help preserve indigenous languages. He is Cheyenne Lakota himself. He works consensually with tribal nations. Consensually.
Is that word still legal as of airing?
Consent has been stripped from every government website, but the rest of us still know what it means.
Yes.
And we don't need an official website to recognize our truth. We carry it ourselves, right? We live it. Yes. So you can delete Black people from a website. You're not going to delete Black people.
We still going to be here.
We still going to be here.
Who all going to be there? Us.
Calling you into a higher version of yourself. You welcome. Thank you, Sarah Jones, for bringing me into this America Who Hurt You beautiful inquiry. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for giving us a space for the pain and for the healing.
You are a joy, a delight, a gift, and a guide. And I love you. Thank you.
Thank you.